One of the ideas behind the course is to look at our relationship to other creatures and to think about how we talk about them, how we invite them into our lives, how we might demonise some and we might choose to use others as commodities, some that we might completely ignore and not take account of in our daily lives, whereas others, they're always at the forefront of our minds. You know, our culture is saturated with animal stories and animal imagery, and yet we have this very difficult relationship with them. And how do we reconcile that with a faith that talks about, you know, the presence of spirit, the presence of the divine in all life, the unity of all things? How do we reconcile our relationship to animals with that spiritual principle?
Well, for me, that is the real crux of the whole thing, that we say some lives matter and other lives, without even saying it, don't matter. So there's these two camps, the pets and the animals we eat. These two camps. And so there's a sort of cognitive dissonance there, which, from a Quaker standpoint, of peace and the spirit within, for myself, that's where we need to look. That's exactly there. Look there, start there.
It certainly is worth looking at in terms of Quaker testimonies. You know, we talk about equality and we talk about peace and even simplicity. How does that relate to the way we treat animals? Well, you know, we're taking animals' lives or using them as property, as objects, for our own desires to be part of this luxurious lifestyle that we enjoy. And is that consistent with that idea that we should live simply? Is the idea that we talk about them as objects rather than as living beings quite often? You know, you think about the animals on our plates, you know, often we use language which has nothing to do with the living animal. And is that consistent with, you know, a truthful and honest way of living?
Yes.
You know, and often as well, throughout Quaker history, our commitment to peace has not just been about our denial of wars, but also the way we treat other animals. You know, so there's a really strong anti-vivisection tradition within Quakers, and often that was the marker of the peace testimony, was how you valued and respected lives other than humans. So that's certainly something that I think we will need to explore and look at. And also the wider Christian tradition of, you know, the Genesis account of man having dominion over the other creatures that he should subdue. And it's worth looking about that, and how does that sit with, you know, a modern Quaker faith, and have we misinterpreted what that might mean, or is that something that is no longer relevant to us, I think?
No, I think it's very, very relevant, but the pressures of society and tradition and conforming, that gets hidden behind a curtain. There's this disconnect between what we say as decent Quakers, but then what do we do at the Christmas table? You know, what do we do? What do we eat? So there's this disconnect between what we say and what we do to creatures. And sometimes people actually don't want to look too closely because it's painful.
Yes.
It's painful. So for me, that is a big, big thing, this disconnect. Because if a connection is intelligence, making connections is intelligence, and then any form of disconnect, not wishing to look, that's a disconnect.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is one area I'd love to look more deeply into throughout the weekend.
I mean, for me, one of the interesting things for me is, as Quakers, we talk about the spirit as if it, and we all sort of tap into one source. And is that source also flowing through other living creatures? And what are the implications for the way we treat them with that? And I think when we treat other living creatures as possessions, as objects, what we're really doing is we're denying that living presence, that living spirit, and taking that hard decision to live more honestly, live more simply, to live more peacefully. That's about reconnecting with the source, with the spirit, and the inevitable result of that is that you will choose to see a vision of the world that's based on harmony and peace, and that's written right into the DNA of the Christian tradition, of the Buddhist tradition, of the Quaker way, however you want to interpret it. And it's interesting why that's perhaps not more widely considered, or if it is, why isn't it more widely applied?
Well, as you say, whether it's St. Francis or the Buddha or Bodhisattvas, it's there, it can be found in all the traditions. There's always been people who intuitively, speaking to people I've met at 6 or 7 year old girls, have suddenly said, they've made this connection. We're eating the duck that we kept. They've made the connection. This is my friend, and as I think it was Shaw who said, I don't eat my friends. So in a way, there's a very simple path and a simple way to look, but society is not set up to look. Whether you talk about the medical model, the benefits of not eating animals, or you talk about the ecological model, it's all there, but I also feel vested interests and tradition hold people back from looking deeper. And if you don't pay attention and look deeper, if you don't look beyond the way we've always done it, then the ball just keeps rolling. And it's that connection to the living spirit within the animal is broken.
Absolutely. I mean, people will start from very different places. Some people will, have been, vegan for years and, animal activists. Some people, maybe this is the start of a journey and they're just starting to consider their connection to that living spirit that's in all creatures. And that's something that we need to look at and consider, I think, and acknowledge that maybe our tradition hasn't always got it right, that our tradition perhaps sends conflicting messages. There's plenty of stories in the Bible, for instance, of animal sacrifices or animal cruelty, and it's about owning those and not brushing them under the carpet, but also realising that there's another richer tradition that we can draw on to help us to make that connection. And for wherever we start, to realise that at the heart of the current situation, which, undoubtedly, wherever you're from, it's a troubled one in terms of factory farming and, intensively using animals as commodities and products and disconnect from the living being. Wherever you're starting from, it is, as I think you're suggesting, it's a spiritual problem, and we need a spiritual solution to that problem.
Yes.
I think. And I'm hoping that between the two of us on this course, that's what we'll start to uncover and unpick.
And one thing you said there, I really pick up on, that it doesn't matter where you're starting from. It doesn't matter. The thing is that you are looking. None of us start from perfection. So it's not a judging. There's no right place to start from. Nobody's got it right.
Yeah.
All of us are exploring and looking and deepening, and it's an ongoing thing for your whole life.
Yes.
And is it any different to sitting in meeting that no one's got that right and perfected it? It's not something someone's perfected.
No.
It's something that seeps into you through years of looking. And the very attraction to Quakerism for myself was the ahimsa, the non-violence. That's what drew me, that there was a certain sanity that I will be in the Friends ambulance unit, but I won't go to war. So for me, it's are you part of a solution, however slowly, wherever you pick it up, whatever point in life, are you part of the solution or the status quo?
That's nice, yeah. And you see, for me, the attraction for Quakerism is the open-heartedness, the open-mindedness of listening to Spirit, and also that sense that it doesn't matter that you're not perfect. It's the phrase I think William Penn uses is the day of small things. You start from where you are, and gradually you grow in spirit, and you grow and start to confront and navigate your way through all those dilemmas of life that you've sort of given an example of. And slowly over time, you look back and you find that you've come so far, and perhaps you haven't realised it. And it's the faithfulness just to that gentle guidance that life is full of dilemmas and problems, but with a bit of faith and a bit of stillness and listening, you can start to navigate your way through it.
But for me, the big thing really is out of that stillness and listening, that what can from the outside look like a sacrifice is in fact this generous heart, as we say, extending the circle of compassion. And it's a joy, that's a joy. It's not what looks like a sacrifice completely turns round when you do look. But there's this reluctance to look. But I think anybody, whichever stage they're in, I think must know that you have to pay attention for something to come back. If you at all put up a barrier, there's nothing coming back.
See, that's made me smile really, because we've talked about some quite gruesome things, factory farming and animal suffering, but it does come down to that generosity of spirit, to that sense of joy, the sense that this isn't a sacrifice. This is the only reasonable response to that spiritual awakening. That opening of your eyes.
Opening of your eyes.
Thanks, Steve.